Hello friends, I am Chintan Joshi from Nalanda Vidyalay, Virpur Morbi, and in the subject Business Studies, Class 12 Commerce, we are discussing chapter number 4, Planning. In our first video session, we have discussed about introduction, concept and definition of planning. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about features of planning. Features of planning are listed as here. Number 1. Focuses on achieving objectives. Second, primary function. Third, pervasive. Fourth, continuous. Fifth, futuristic. Sixth, involves decision making. 7. Mental exercise. Let me see the detailed discussion about features of planning. Feature number 1. Planning focuses on achieving objectives. Let me see. Planning is a goal-oriented process which helps in defining objectives and preparation of necessary action plans to achieve goals. As we have discussed and seen in the concept and meaning of planning, it is very much clear with us that planning is a goal-oriented process over where we are focuses on objectives. We are focuses on achieving our goals over where we are deciding what to do and how to do. Thus, planning is focused on clarifying what is to be done and how that to be done. The planning holds no purpose if does not focus on achievement of present organizational or corporate objectives. It means that if there is no planning in the organization or in the corporate aspect, there is no mean to achieve the objectives. To achieve the objectives of organization as well as corporate units, they require planning for their better achievement. So, planning focuses on achieving objectives, where planning clarifies what to do and how to do. Feature number 2. Planning is primary function of management. Basically, it is seen in the definition part as well as in the concept part, as well as we have gone through chapter number 1 about different functions of management, over where we have observed that each and every management function start with planning. So every management start with planning. All other functions like organizing, staffing, directing and controlling are based on planning. After doing planning in the organization, rest of the managerial functions will be performed. It proceeds the execution of all other managerial functions and allows managers to organize staff, direct and control the activities in a better way so as to achieve organizational goals. It is very much clear with us that if we want to go for organization, staffing, directing and controlling and other activities of managerial functions, we need to go for planning in a primary level. After the primary function of management, that is planning, executed, rest of the managerial functions will be allow managers to go ahead. So like this, planning becomes primary function of management. Second feature of planning. Is it clear? Number 3. Planning is pervasive. Planning is not only the function of top management or any particular department, but planning is required at all level of management and in all departments of an organization. However, The scope and nature of planning is different at different levels and in different departments, because we know that management hierarchy level wise, total three levels we have: top level management, middle level management, and operational level management. Planning is required at each and every level of management, as well as it is also required at all the departmental levels. Say for example, the top management lays down the plans for the organization as a whole. Middle level management has to make plans for each department, and the plans regarding the daily operations of an organization are laid down by operational management. So over here in the example, it is clearly said that top level management will decide the planning for overall the organization, which will be forwarded to the middle level management for further execution part. Now at middle level management, different departments will do planning for the day-to-day operational activities. Production level department will do production planning, finance department will do finance planning, marketing and sales department will do sales and marketing planning, whereas HR department will go for the HR planning. So likewise, middle level management at different department will do planning, and they will forward their planning for the execution part to the operation level of the organization. In the operation level of the organization, we know that each and every department again go for their sub planning and execution part. With the continuation of above discussion, we can say that in the middle level management, where production department is planning for 100 unit manufacturing per day, at operational level planning it will be executed by the laborers, supervisors, and followers. So they are going to plan accordingly day to day on the base of hours. For each hours, how much production should be done in the unit. So planning is pervasive. It is not only a top level functions of management, but it is actually required each and everywhere in the organization. Either they are the different levels of management, or they are the different departments of management. We can say that planning is also a universal part, universal process, as we know that planning is not required only in the corporate or business aspect, but it is also required everywhere in our day-to-day life. Either they are government organizations, or semi-government or non-government organizations, either they are our home or schools, etc. So planning is required everywhere. That's why planning is a pervasive in feature or in nature. So feature number 3 of planning: planning is a pervasive, clear, no doubts. Number 4, planning is continuous. Planning process begins with the establishment of an organizational and continue as long as the enterprise is in the existence. It is to be performed in all situations and at all level of work. Basically, we know that planning starts with the setting of objectives, what to do and how to do. From the beginning of the establishment of an organization or a company, where what to do is setting off, it will be continue in the process of the enterprise till the enterprise exists. Planning is done for a specific time period, and when that time period is about to get over, the needs arise to formulate another plan for new period. As we know that planning is bound with the time period, as we have discussed in a discussion that if we are going to plan our 12th strategy, right, After 12th, what to do? Again we have to plan. If we are going to join our commerce graduation or management graduation course, after that, what to do? Again we have to plan. Are we want to go for the masters, or are we want to go for job or business? Again we have to plan. That's why planning is a continuous process in the organization, starting from the beginning of establishment till the enterprise exists into the market. So it is a round the clock continuous process. Once a objective is being achieved, next objective will be set off, will be settled, and then after again the achievement of next objective or goals, next goals or objectives will be going to be planned. Thus planning is a continuous process. In continuity, for the fourth feature of planning, let we have another slide. Also, due to dynamic business environment, continuous changes are required to be made in the existing plan. Hence, planning is a continuous process. As we know that business environment is a dynamic one. There are continuous change in the technology aspect, political aspect, economical aspect, legal aspect, etc. So according to that, we have to change our plan also. So thus it is also a continuous process. For example, if plans are made during a boom period and executed during a depression period, cor- corresponding changes need to be made in the plans with due respect to the latest prevailing conditions. Clear? Any doubts? Planning is a continuous process. Feature number 4. Let's see next one. Number 5. Feature number 5. Planning is futuristic. Planning is always for future and never for the past, because past has already been gone, and as a business we are thinking for the future. It involves twittering into the future, analyzing the same and preparing plan for it accordingly. Planning is always made for the future executions, future happenings. It is forward-looking function based on forecasting, in which plans are drawn after anticipating future events. Thus, planning is futuristic as it helps in meeting future events effectively and efficiently to the best advantage of the organization. For example, on the basis of sales forecasting, annual plans for production and sales are drawn. Let me discuss this feature of planning in detail. Planning is a futuristic. We are going to plan for the future aspect. We are never planning for the present or past. In future, where we want to be will be the main aspect of planning. That's why we can say that planning is a futuristic activity. Clear? Point number 5. Point number 6. Feature of planning. Sixth planning feature is planning involves decision making. Planning is essentially a process of making choice from among various alternatives. In the definition part as well as in the concept part, we have discussed that there are lots of choice or alternatives from where we are going to elect the best alternative suitable for our objectives. There will be no need for planning if there is only one course of action. If there is one course of action, we are not in requirement of planning. Hence, need for extent of planning depends on the availability of alternatives. A manager, after examining and evaluating the various alternatives, choose the most appropriate out of them. Thus, planning involves decision making. Planning involves decision making. If we want to simplify this feature, it will be like that. When we are going to plan for a futuristic activity, we will list out lots of alternatives or options. If plan A doesn't work, then we are going to prepare plan B, then plan C. But when we are going to execute this objectives achievement process out of different plans, we are going to select the best one at the first period. Thus, planning involves decision making. Feature number 6, clear. Any doubts? Number 7, planning is a mental exercise. Guys, we know that when we are going to plan something, we are having a thinking process back into our mind. Let me see this in the detailed text literature. Planning is an intellectual activity requiring application of the mind, imagination, and sound judgment. When we are going to think something, we are going to image for our execution part. Over there, we need to judge in a good way. It is a thinking function rather than a doing function. We know that planning is a thinking function, it is not a doing function, as it determines the actions to be taken. Planning will decide what to do. It is not actually the execution of that objectives. Moreover, planning requires logical and systematic thinking based on the analysis of fact and forecast. Whenever we are going to plan for the future happenings or events, we are going to analyze the fact of the past, what actually happened in the past with this experiment, and on that basis we are going to have a logical and systematic thinking, and then after we are going to plan for the futuristic happening or events. It requires thinking about where, how, when, and by whom, etc. Decision making requires competence, ability, experience. Planning is all about a process of WH questions that we have already seen: what to do, how to do, where to do, when to do, by whom to do, etc. And when we are going to pass the journey between the WH questions, we need to take some important decisions, and for that we require competency level as well as ability as well as experiences. Thus, we can say that planning is a mental or thinking process. It is an intellectual process. It cannot be touched or it cannot be seen, but it is a purely a mental exercise. It is not actually a execution part. It is not actually a doing function, but it is a thinking function. So these are total 7 features or natures or characteristics of planning that we have discussed in this video session. Anybody having doubts, please feel free to ask me. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much.